What? Bang!
Whoa! Wrestling Podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep screwed rep.
Yeah!
Woo! Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Did he do it?
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I said WWE stands for... It's me, Austin. I will never retire.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Fro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like my good buddy John in Texas. John, love giving you that shout out. Jump over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Don't forget loyalty rewards. If you are a $15 a month contributor, you can co-host an episode with me. If you are a $7.50 a month contributor, you'll be entered into a drawing to do the same. Just like my buddy John. John and I are in the process of putting something special together. We'll bring that to you guys in future episodes. That will be Patreon exclusive content, and keep your eyes out for that if you are one of our Patreons. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, things you want to talk about, give us a shout. Fro Wrestling Sound Off line 267-642-1160, and we will get to those conversations in a future episode. Got a ton to get to today. Some controversial, some not so much, some important, some not so much. Let's get into it. The most important story right now is whether or not the Night of Champions pay-per-view in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia will take place as scheduled. The issue is that we have a no-fly zone implemented in Qatar, where we have some WWE personnel currently who cannot get to Saudi Arabia. We've got the heightened tensions over the bombing of Iran's nuclear test facilities and nuclear sites, the ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel, concerns about shots being fired at a Qatar U.S. Military installment. So there's all this going on, and the issue is it safe for the wrestlers and the talent? Think about it. If you are somebody looking to perpetrate harm on another nation and really grab their attention, maybe Iran has no idea how important pro wrestling is to the WWE. I doubt it, since they have, one of their home people, the Iron Sheik, who legitimately was from Iran, a former world champion. I'm fairly confident they know wrestling is a big deal, and they also know the numbers of people who would be present at a show of this magnitude. Talk about a target for a military operation. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it will. I think you're going to be just fine. But as of right now, WWE wrestlers, talent, production team members, and things like that, the ones who are not already there, are scheduled to fly out Wednesday to get there ahead of SmackDown for the PLE. And the reality is, if they do this show, which again, like I said, I think they will do, the decision has to be made probably by Wednesday whether or not they're going to move forward with this. And we've seen in the past where they've had issues with these Saudi Arabia shows, flights being delayed, not being allowed to leave at one point in, I believe, 2019 over a contract dispute, things of that nature. Interesting stuff always going on when it comes to this deal with Saudi Arabia, but I cannot see a scenario where, already embroiled in a conflict with Israel, that Iran would want to bring Saudi Arabia into the mix as well. I don't think that's going to happen. For those who know me on a personal level, I'm a social studies guy at heart. I teach social studies during the day. I could get into that with people in private message if you'd like. I just don't think that's a smart move on Iran's part to create a conflict with Saudi Arabia when they currently are on the sidelines and not a part of the issue. There are some WWE personnel, it's been reported that, especially people like PW Insider, confirming that yes, there are WWE employees in Qatar who are under a no-fly zone and are probably not going to have an easy path getting to Saudi Arabia, but that contrary to early reports, it's not as big an issue as people are making it out to be. It's not like there's hundreds of staffers there that can't get to Saudi Arabia. It's a limited number of people. I think the show's going to go on just fine. That being said, this issue is not the only thing related to Saudi Arabia that's big news in the news, or at least theoretically big news in the news. The conversation came up about whether or not WWE would consider bringing additional PLEs and big name PLEs to Saudi Arabia. This was covered on virtually every online platform you can imagine, from Wrestle Talk News, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Busted Open Radio. We've all been talking about this. We already know that the Royal Rumble is headed to Saudi Arabia. Now, in the past, they wanted to have the Royal Rumble, but we have that in January. They had it, I believe it was Philadelphia 2019. They did the Royal Rumble, and then they did the quote-unquote greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, where Braun Strowman won and got that ugly green belt. Similar situation may take place here with regards to WrestleMania. The Saudi PIL, they want to have WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, but think about what that does to the people who always go to WrestleMania, the international community that would like to go to WrestleMania, one of the biggest draws. Heck, that's why we're going back to Las Vegas, supposedly, is because of the huge amount of influx that they did by going to Vegas. It would, in my opinion, it would either take an astronomical amount of money from Saudi Arabia on top of whatever deal they currently have to bring WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia, or what a lot of people are theorizing is there may be two shows called WrestleMania in the same year. One in a traditional format here in the United States, and one over in Saudi Arabia, so that they can claim to have hosted WrestleMania. Now look, you and I both know WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's the show that takes place March to April every year. It's going to stay the show that takes place March to April every year here in the United States somewhere. However, that does not mean they can't have a WrestleMania titled event, and you can come up with whatever titling you want for that, but a event that has the name WrestleMania attached to it, run in Saudi Arabia to appease this relationship with the Saudi Arabian government. That is definitely something being discussed. Don't know where it's going to go, but definitely something to monitor. And look, I get it. People look at some of these Saudi shows as being like glorified house shows. I don't think that's what would happen with both the Royal Rumble or with a Saudi WrestleMania. Now, I'm not saying to book it like it's the WrestleMania, but you certainly have to book it stronger than a glorified house show, and I think they would. I think you would expect to see championship change hands and things like that at a show like that. Premium matches, once-in-a-lifetime matches, or the ones that you've looked forward to. Look at what they're doing right now with Night of Champions. When you've got matches on the card that we have as fans wanted to see at WrestleMania or at SummerSlam for a decade. We all were expecting that there was a possibility of seeing Cody versus Randy Orton, as with Orton going heel against Cody for the WWE Championship, and everybody was very excited about the possibilities of that happening before the whole John Cena craziness went down. We're going to get that now in Saudi Arabia for the King of the Ring. It's almost like we're rushing one of these dream matches to put it on a Saudi PLE. There's a story out this week that Jade Cargill was planned to be a singles women's champion heading into WrestleMania 41. Then those plans got derailed when she got injured, and now she'll be going to Saudi for the Queen of the Ring, and I suspect she's going to win the Queen of the Ring tournament. That way it'll open the door for her to challenge for one of the women's championships, and she will win that women's championship at SummerSlam. There you go. I'm already giving you predictions for SummerSlam. I don't even know who's going to be wrestling yet, but that's what I would predict if I was looking at things for what they are right now. So you got to expect that these matches, even I'll be honest with you, this time of year with all this going on and Night of Champions taking place, I'm shocked that Goldberg-Gunther isn't taking place at Night of Champions. I would have expected that to happen. So, though I love the fact that it's going to be happening in Atlanta. That being said, we're going to move on from all this Saudi conversation, jump into the Raw reactions, because Raw was a little crazy last night. I mean, let's be honest. Right? We opened a show with Seth Rollins. He talks for a good 12 to 15 minutes and basically told us nothing. He basically gave us a declaration that he won the King of the Ring, or I'm sorry, the Money in the Bank briefcase. We knew that weeks ago. So why we're taking up 15 minutes of television time, taking away an opportunity to showcase in-ring action for 15 minutes to tell me something I knew when I watched the PLE? What you basically told me is there's no reason to tune in to Money in the Bank. I could just tune in 2 weeks later and listen to Seth Rollins tell me what the results were. It's ridiculous. It was a waste of time. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I love Seth Rollins, and I love the one part of his promo that I really enjoyed was when he talked about how fans don't know what they want. You know, they sang his song going to the ring. They want CM Punk. They want the OTC. They want Braun Breaker. They want to sing his song again. And they do. They sing his song again. They really... the problem is when he says that, he sounds like he's dealing in absolutes. You can only want one or the other. And the reality is we're wrestling fans. We can have it all. We can cheer for everybody. We can boo everybody. It's totally up to us. But whatever. It moves into the first match. Penta versus Braun Breaker. Very solid match. I thought it was kind of funny when you hear on commentary they talk about Penta having such a great year and how he was the Iron Man of the Royal Rumble. When in fact, all of us know that when he went over the top rope, both feet touched, and he technically should have been eliminated in the first 2 minutes of the Royal Rumble. But they had to talk about him being the Iron Man. I do like that they've booked Penta a little stronger lately. I love the tease of Seth Rollins at the end of the match. Braun Breaker picking up the win with a spear coming out of a springboard off the ropes. But I do love the tease of Penta and Seth going face-to-face. That's a match I would love to see happen because I think that Penta is capable of much more than they've given him, but he's got to have the right dancing partner. And I'd love to see him in the ring with Seth Rollins. I'd love to see him pick up a win clean over Seth Rollins to really push him to the upper stratosphere in the pecking order of talents in WWE. Love Breaker picking up a win. Look, that kid is the future of the business. That's just my opinion. He's one of my favorite talents in the entire industry right now. And I know, look, like all of you guys, there's many of them on my list, but he is certainly one of the top 10 in my list, probably top 5 of my list right now, best talents in the world right now. So, that being said, moving on, Jade Cargill, Roxanne Perez. I think going into this, we all knew Jade Cargill had to win. I actually was more interested in whether or not we would see interference from multiple individuals. Would this lead to some kind of thing between setting up Cargill for another feud with somebody beyond the Asuka match? But in the end, knowing what I've seen in the reports about her supposedly being a champion prior to Mania 41, I really look at this for what it really is. This was, let's get Jade Cargill with a premier talent who she can go in the ring with and have a great match with, and then set her up to win Queen of the Ring so she could be in a championship opportunity at SummerSlam. Michael Cole's sit-down interview with Goldberg, look, I'm saying it the only way I can. I've never been more frustrated or more furious with the booking of a situation that could have been much, 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 much worlds better. Bill Goldberg has been asking for a retirement match for forever and a day, ever since he felt that Vince shafted him. So he's going to get that opportunity against Gunther. They set it up last year at Bad Blood. I'm okay with all of that. But let's think about the logistics and the logic behind this entire thing. You know, Goldberg talking about finishing business because of what happened at Bad Blood. It's been 8 months. Did it take you 8 months to build up the gumption to come face-to-face with the guy? Or did you have to go home and work out for 8 months to get yourself in shape because you were somehow in horrible shape? When I saw you at Bad Blood, you looked pretty jacked. You know, I understand you were wearing a coat, but he looked jacked. So I don't feel like he aesthetically needed 8 months to get ready. I'm sure in his personal life he probably did because Bill really cares about his performance. I get it. And that's what annoys me about people who knock Bill Goldberg's performances. The guy cares. He may care more than anybody else in wrestling right now. Think about it. The Bret Harts, the Stone Colds, all the Kurt Angle, all these classic wrestlers who don't really like to come back because they're afraid of tarnishing their legacy because they care about how their matches go over. Goldberg feels the same way no matter how long his matches go for. That being said, this has been botched from the beginning of the announcing of this match. First off, Jey Uso never should have lost the World Championship. It's being reported by Dave Meltzer, which take that with a grain of salt, all you want. The guy is hit or miss most of the time these days. But he says it was always the plan to give Jey the belt for a short period of time, move it back to Gunther, and then have Gunther face Goldberg. The problem is, you have to have one of two things. Either you have to have Bill Goldberg announce ahead of time that this is his retirement match and he wants Gunther for his retirement match. Or you have to have another match planned after this for Goldberg and make it clear this is not the retirement match. Otherwise, it makes it obvious who's going to win, right? I'll come back to that in a few seconds. Jey Uso keeping the championship from Gunther and Gunther going against Goldberg, there's no championship on the line. There's no way to predict who's going to win. If he's retiring, how could he retire and be world champion? When you have John Cena talking about ruining wrestling, if he retires as champion, you're going to have the good guy Bill Goldberg come in and do the same thing on the other brand? That doesn't make sense. There's no continuity in their storytelling, and I know I've briefly touched on that in previous episodes, but that's the issue. WWE doesn't think about how their stories, they contradict each other. It makes them look like they're not even beginning to think about what they're doing as a whole, as a company. John Cena's going to ruin wrestling by walking away with the world championship and retiring as champion. But Goldberg, he's going to challenge for that championship, and it's not going to ruin a flipping thing if he retires right afterwards. That doesn't make sense. Couple that with the fact that if you left the championship on Jey Uso, even if you wanted to take it off him right away, that could have been Seth's cash-in. Gunther could have beat him down. He could have snuck a roll-up win. WWE's favorite move to finish big matches is a quick roll-up. And Seth could have cashed in and taken the championship from Jey. And you're fine. You still get the bell off of Jey. The issue I have is Goldberg always getting a championship match for no reason whatsoever. And no storytelling. Bully Ray on Busted Open said it the best earlier today. He was saying, Gunther should have come out and said, you want this world title match? What? Because I talk trash about your family? That doesn't get you a championship match. He should have said, if you want this championship match, you got to put some skin in the game. If I'm putting the title on the line, you have to put your career on the line. That would have made it make sense. Why is it, and I said that on a previous episode, why is it that we the fans, or somebody like Bully Ray, have to think of these things after WWE screws it up? How could you possibly, an organization, it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation, screw this up that bad? It doesn't even begin to make sense. You have to have better storytelling. So at this point, every person, I know I've heard people debating, they had Goldberg beat The Fiend. I get it, horrible booking decision. But they know that. They've seen the backlash. They've seen the videos where people joke about this and make fun of them for that decision for years now. Do you really think they're going to do that again? I don't. Even in Atlanta, Goldberg is going to lose to Gunther. So don't put the championship on the line so that we know how it's going to go down. That way you could have Gage get involved. You could have Ludwig Kaiser come out and get involved. You think about it, if Kaiser came out to help Gunther, but Gage took out Kaiser, that'd be amazing. Think about the pop from the Atlanta crowd. Goldberg could still lose it. It wouldn't matter. He gets to share a spotlight with his son, getting physical, who's talked about possibly training to go into pro wrestling at some point. I just think they've totally muffed what could have been a fantastic angle. And for everybody who's out there saying that they don't want to see the match, they want to see Goldberg, I question your fandom. I really do. I'm not asking for Bill Goldberg from 1998. He's a 58-year-old man. But you know what? A 58-year-old Bill Goldberg is, for me, even in 30-second squash matches, would be more entertaining than some of the stuff I see on other programming that people rant and rave about. 9,000 super kicks, jump flips, and everything else that makes no sense. That 15 years ago, somebody gets a super kick to the face and they're out for 10 minutes, and now you get 17 of them in a match and you still kick out on one. It doesn't make sense. I'll take a Bill Goldberg squash. I will, even at 58 years old. I love the 3-minute squash of Brock Lesnar. But here's a guy who beats Lesnar, beats The Fiend. Is there a possibility he could beat Gunther? Yes. If Triple H really wants to pull the trigger on that, sure. But then they asked, what happens if this was supposed to be a retirement match, but then you win the world championship? And he goes, it's an interesting conundrum or quandary or whatever he said. I get it. That opens the possibility. I think they said that just so we don't think it's impossible for him to win. But you didn't have to do that. Just put the career on the line. Build it into the storyline. Bad idea. All right, I've been on this way too long. We're going to keep moving on here. We come back. We have Gunther come out and cutting his promo. Again, we talked about how he missed the boat there. Bayley, Becky Lynch, the Intercontinental Championship match. I understand what they're, planning for. This looks like it's going to be a 3-way at SummerSlam between Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria. I understand why they're doing that. I just don't love that they're doing that. I would have liked to see just a legit match between these two. And no need to have a clean victor here. But this was, I don't need Lyra Valkyria being pulled into this. I want to see these two legendary horsewomen go at it without the outside nonsense. But like I said, I feel like we're probably going to see this three-way either at SummerSlam or more likely, because it's such a premium match, we may see this at Evolution 2. Don't like it, didn't enjoy it, but it is what it is. Raquel Rodriguez coming out, throwing down a challenge for Rhea Ripley. This is going to lead to a match being made between the two, a street fight. They have not built up Raquel to seem like a threat to Rhea to me. I get it, putting her through a table and all that last night was great, but I don't think this really puts her in position to be taken seriously as a threat to Rhea. They needed to do more work if they wanted to make that happen. Have her squash some people. It doesn't have to be big names. Have her squash every, B-level female star, go down to NXT, tear through them, whatever. But they should have built her up more before they were putting her in a street fight with Rhea, unless you're going to have outside interference help her win. I did love the fact that you have Roxanne and Raquel seemingly get on the same page, which I have a feeling will lead to them giving her the opportunity to take over the tag team championship. This would not be the first time we've seen Trish Stratus do it when she replaced Lita. We saw Naomi do that when Jade went out to injury, so it would not be unprecedented for Roxanne to take over the tag team championship. I think that's a good idea. What happens when Liv comes back? We'll have to wait and see. And then the big match of the night, Cody versus Jey Uso. A solid match, back and forth, real technical masterpiece. I loved it. Some near falls. I don't think anybody ever expected that Jey was going to win, but I also don't think they expected the match to progress the way that it did. Cody Rhodes picking up the win. He'll go on to face Randy Orton. Look, I know there's not a lot of people who are clamoring to see Jey Uso versus Randy Orton at Night of Champions, but that's actually what I would have done. Just so you could save Randy and Cody. I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to have a WrestleMania in Saudi next year, that could have been your main event in there. If you really want to have Randy and Cody in Saudi, this I didn't think was a great idea. I think it leads to Cody probably winning the King of the Ring tournament to challenge John Cena at SummerSlam. I also am not a fan of that. I wanted that to be the match in December at the Ruthless Aggression pay-per-view and let Cody regain the championship there if it's going to happen. If Cody goes to SummerSlam and doesn't regain this championship, I don't see a path for him to get back to that before the end of the year, which means Cody would not be the one to take the championship from John Cena. Now, who could replace him in that role? Jey Uso. Remember, he's the one who threw John Cena out at the Royal Rumble. They've had some interaction during the tag team match. There is a storyline there, and think about what it would do for Jey Uso to be the guy who ends John Cena's career and his World Championship reign. I think it'd be great. Jey Uso has not lost any support despite losing the World Championship. And look, I've said it before, you cannot blame Jey for the booking of his championship run. That is all on the writing team. They planned for this nonsense to take the belt off him so quickly, so I don't blame him at all. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, what happens at SummerSlam, how Cena progresses through the year, because this puts a premium match. We all wanted to see Cody and Randy in Saudi and we just had Randy Orton versus John Cena, so I can't see Randy winning again. This is where they're booking things, so it looks like there's no way for certain people to win, which takes away some of the luster from the match. Jey versus Randy would have made a lot more sense to me. It really would. And then you could still play out the Jey John Cena storyline that I was just talking about for the end of the year if you don't do the Cody thing, and just do it earlier if you don't want Jey to be the one to do it. And then have Cody find his way to the championship later in the year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Some other stories coming out of Raw related to Night of Champions. Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross has been added to the PLE because of the change in the card. Dominic Mysterio, I don't know if it's kayfabe or if it's a legit injury, but he is out of Night of Champions. He was going to defend the Intercontinental Championship against AJ Styles, so instead we're going to get the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross match. Gosh, I hope they put Kross over big here, and I know they probably won't because Sami Zayn in Saudi is a big deal, but I would love to see Kross start to get a legit push. Now, with his contract coming up and no word on him getting a new contract offer anytime soon, I don't suspect that's going to happen, but that's what I would like to see happen, if we're being completely honest. Have to wait and see. Let's get into some other WWE stuff. CM Punk and John Cena, the reverse pipe bomb from SmackDown last week. I haven't had a chance to talk about it. Look, I get why they did it. I love the shout-outs. Castagnoli, Nick Nemeth, Matt Cardona, specifically to Matt Cardona, because there's always been conversation about Cena costing Cardona some of his push when he was doing the True Long Island story. I thought that was interesting. I saw Cardona responded over the weekend, videotaping a response, "Hey, John Cena." He's now selling T-shirts that say that, which I think is hilarious. John Cena doing that to him actually creates a revenue stream for him. But if you think about it, Cardona being with TNA and Nemeth being with TNA, there's a chance that you can make something happen there, but you're not getting Claudio. It's just not happening. AEW, WWE are not in a conversational relationship yet. Maybe someday, but certainly not right now. But I like some of the parallels, but it was almost like they were copy and pasting. I get it. This was solid. It did what it was supposed to do. I love the part about you were the best in the world for, 7 minutes 14 years ago. I did like that line. I don't think John Cena is the GOAT. I don't think he could ever be considered the GOAT when you're the 5 Moves of Doom guy. I think he's the corporate GOAT, maybe. Then he's got to fight Hulk Hogan for that championship. But certainly I don't think he's the GOAT. But I loved how they built this. And really, for people who weren't around for the original Pipe Bomb, or weren't fans at the time, this was nice. This was a good play-in for that, to bring a new audience, because I'm sure people looked it up and then they found the other one and they were able to watch both. And there's a lot going on here that, back in the original Pipe Bomb with Punk talking about he was leaving in a month and taking the championship with him. Cena saying, "I'm leaving in 6 months, taking the championship with me." There are a lot of parallels, and I thought though it was effective, a little too much copy paste for me. But I like the fact that there's some nostalgia going on for this situation. In other news, I should have talked about this previously when I was talking about the Gunther Goldberg stuff. The word is Goldberg is going to be, according to PW Insider Elite, that he is scheduled to be on weekly television on Raw leading up to Saturday night's main event, with the exception of next Monday. Now, that report was released prior to last night's show. He was on last night's show, but it was a pre-tape. So that to me is not the same as walking in and seeing the crowd and hearing his entrance music and seeing him, blow smoke and kick and punch and all that fun stuff. But whatever, there's supposed to be something else that he will not be at next week's show, and he'll be at the following week's show leading into the Saturday night's main event. So that is the plan for Goldberg going forward. We'll have to see how that plays out. The talent from AAA that worked the Worlds Collide pay-per-view, specifically Vikingo, Octagon Jr., Mr. Iguana, and now Psycho Clown, which if you haven't checked it out, go to AAA's YouTube channel, watch Triple Mania from the other weekend, watch Psycho Clown, killer talent. Those guys now apparently are pulling back from their independent appearances because they are expected to be making their way over to WWE in short order. So when they do that, they don't want them working for some independent company and sustaining some kind of injury that somehow takes them out of WWE's plans. And they have plenty of things they can do to try to get them over while still allowing them to work AAA. So I think this is interesting. It'll give some exposure to a new crop of guys that can work most of their matches in Mexico, but still get some time in the ring for WWE. So in the short term, it looks like we can get a good idea of who these guys are because of who worked Worlds Collide. WWE LFG Season 2, if you weren't watching, that kicked off this past weekend. I'm so disappointed. I enjoyed the first season. I thought it was solid. This one, they brought back most of the cast from the first season. And what's really weird about that, and I love the fact that, and if you don't check them out, eWrestling News has a great article about this up. There's an article, and if I remember correctly, it's Anthony Mango is the one who put up the article responding to his first impressions of LFG2. And basically, he had the same opinions I did. One, bringing back 90% of the cast from the first season, and then having them go through like these workout sessions so that the coaches can see what they can do. You just had an entire season to see what they can do. Now, what we're not talking about is the fact that they recorded Season 1 long before Season 1 aired, so they have been in the ring extensively since then preparing for Season 2. But Season 2 was filmed shortly, right around, and my understanding is right around WrestleMania time, so there was a little bit of a break, but not some astronomical amount of time where they might have gained, worlds of knowledge. So spending time having to get to know the guys again is a little weird. And then when you realize that if you watch the Evolve show, which is a fantastic show, by the way, you should do that, you'll notice that, like, the winners from the first season got NXT contracts, which is fine. They've debuted on NXT. But then you see other people like Troy Yearwood and Lee Laurel. They already are working for Evolve. So clearly they got a contract of some kind. So putting them back on here is a little weird. You're supposed to believe, and the article on eWrestling News by Anthony Mango talks about this. He's like, you're supposed to believe this is a reality show. You know what I mean? Why would people be giving contracts and go work Evolve, and it wouldn't be people like Xena or Shiloh who were the runners up for season 1? It doesn't make sense. So it really makes it so the whole, like, reality show feel that you're supposed to have doesn't really follow through. He also saw what I saw. The Undertaker talking to Shiloh Hill, telling him to, like, to kind of tank it while they were going through their drills. I thought that was funny because, you know, trying to get him to fall down the draft board. They only did the first 2 picks of the draft. Booker T got all angry and stormed off set. I thought that was pretty funny. But there are several of these people who are already on Evolve, so I don't know. Where does LFG rank above Evolve? You know, I don't know. I think maybe WWE needs to explain that a little bit. But all in all, I mean, I'm glad to have a show like that. It's kind of like Tough Enough, but not quite tough enough. But I'm cool with that. Let's get into some AEW stuff. There was reportedly a plan in place earlier in the year for Edge and Christian to reunite and battle FTR for All In. And that apparently is on the back burner for now because Christian wants to wrap up his current ongoing saga that he has playing out with the Patriarchy and have a separation from Nick Wayne and wrap all that up before the reunion with Adam Copeland. The issue is at this point, Cope has been out for so long. The guy doesn't have forever to wrestle. They got to get this going if they're going to do it. And we're bigger than it All In. But apparently that's no longer in the works. We're only a couple weeks away from All In, so there's no way they're going to be able to build that correctly and put that together in time. So that's not going to happen. So at this point, I think what we're looking forward to is maybe All Out, some other big PLE. Then we'll finally get to the FTR versus Edge and Christian match. But again, who knows the way these things get booked. People come up with ideas, and every once in a while, there's just no follow-through. So we'll have to wait and see if that ever comes to fruition. There are some stars who have been missing from AEW television as of late. Hook has been out. He is dealing with a concussion. He should be back sooner than later, hopefully, but they want to make sure he is all clear of any post-concussion issues. Juice Robinson is very close to coming back. He's been out for an extended period of time, broke a bone in his leg back in the Continental Classic, his fibula. So he has been out for quite a while. He will be coming back soon. But then people have been asking about 2 really curious ones. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, has been out, as well as Jack Perry. Both are perfectly fine. They're just not factored into any plans. We haven't seen Britt Baker since November of 24, and her deal runs until 2026. So at some point in time, she should be doing something, or Tony's just wasting his money, especially if he extends her because of her injury time. And Jack Perry, I don't understand at all. Unless this is a behavioral concern, maybe the kid's just too big for his britches, which is kind of what we thought we saw when we saw the video released about the CM Punk situation. We've heard other reports about him doing the same thing. Even on Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray was talking about his interactions with Jack Perry not being all that welcoming. So maybe there's an issue there, but we haven't seen him. But apparently he's perfectly fine. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out over the next few months. They have all this talent that they're just not using. And some other updates. Here's an obscure one for you. The Judo Olympic gold medalist Aaron Wolf has signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He finished up his last judo competition, and he is headed to New Japan. He'll be in their dojo, and he will be wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom, January 4th, 2026. This is, look, WWE is not the only company that can bring in a world-class gold medalist to compete. Congrats to him for finding his path and wanting to take a step into the world of professional wrestling. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's talk about what's not beautiful. A poster online putting up, I believe on Reddit, if I remember correctly, talking about Ric Flair frequenting various bars and restaurants and things of that nature in the Florida area that he's in. And let me think how to say this in a clean way. Relieving himself while he's there, or having accidents while he's there repeatedly. The guy talked about 6 times that he's aware of him defecating in public in his trousers because the guy's always inebriated and off his rocker. I have always thought Ric Flair was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but as a human being, the fact that he's still drunk partying all the time, despite his medical emergencies that he's had, look, I'm a father. I've got children. To see what his near-death scare did to Charlotte, to Megan, to David, like, it's just sad. It's sad that a father wouldn't prioritize extending as much time as he can with his kids and give up the drinking for them. But he apparently just can't. He can't stop being Ric Flair and go back to being Richard Fleer. And that's a big problem. And I feel like I can't imagine what Charlotte thinks when she knows what her father's been through. If you remember, she had that incredible promo before Survivor Series the one year when it was going to be Red versus Blue, and she took the Women's Championship over on SmackDown, and she was going to then challenge Alexa Bliss. And the night that she won the championship, she talked about, they were in the Carolinas, and she mentioned how they had always seen her family in the ups and downs, and how he couldn't be there, but he would be texting her from home and congratulating her. And then he surprised her. He came out and shocked her, and how she shared such a vulnerable moment with the crowd. For her to now have her father doing this kind of stuff again is just mind-boggling to me. My heart goes out to Charlotte for having to try to, stay the course through all that hard times when Rick is still out there and clearly not valuing the relationships more than the alcohol. And look, maybe after me being overly critical of Ric Flair, I'm not Ric Flair. I haven't walked in his shoes. I don't know what he feels, but I'm a father, and he's a father. And to me, being a father, your number one job is to look out for your kids and and spend as much time with them as you can. And when you're doing this to your body, you're not doing that. And when you're doing this in public, this report that came out, it's disgusting, it's unnerving, it's disheartening, it's saddening, but I hate to say it, it's also not surprising with everything we've been hearing the last 10 years about the journey and the path that Ric Flair has taken in his own words. It's not even like secondhand, in his own words. And one last tidbit for today. Eric Bischoff gave a health update on Hulk Hogan. There was reports out last week. Bubba the Love Sponge was talking about how Hogan was like dying or something like that. Bischoff rebuffed that. He did say that he had been in for surgery on his neck, and he can only handle, I believe the quote is, the body can only handle as much so much anesthesia over a certain period of time. He's had a lot of anesthesia, and between that and some of the prescription medication he's on out of that surgery, it just kind of combined, it set him back a little bit. But he said the prognosis is good. The rumors of the family gathering at the hospital, that part was all BS. But yeah, he had a bit of a setback because of the neck surgery, but he's going to kick out like he always does, and he'll be fine, which is great to hear. Hogan's going to make it and pull through. No matter what your opinions are about Hulk Hogan, I don't wish ill on anybody, nobody, including the Hulkster. I always wish everybody well and for a speedy recovery, and hopefully he gets back on his feet. Besides, I need my Real American Freestyle Wrestling to be a success for all those amateur wrestlers out there who want to see a better path forward. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always to Suno AI for generating the music and sound we use in our show. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, maybe you're considering college, university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.